Okay. Well, let's start with your name and spelling of your name and your title.
Sure. It's David Macleod, David Macleod. I am currently vice president of the Dan Finals. I'm also on the board, and I'm very honored to be organizing this year's Dan Finals convention in Muskegon, Michigan. So,
So you are in the UK, and you are organizing a convention here in West Michigan. Um, can you tell me a little bit about the history of that, and then, of course, explain to viewers why people are so fascinated with Buster Keaton?
well, the history is that the Dan Finals as an organization was formed in 1993, and within 2 years, we came to Muskegon for the first time for our first convention. For the very specific reason that that was Buster Keaton's centenary, 1995. And a lot of people might be wondering why Muskegon, Michigan, because Buster was born in Kansas, a little tiny town in Kansas. But his father, they were vaudeville troupe, and his father bought property in Bluffton, which is an area of Muskegon, and told all his showbiz pals about it, how beautiful it was, how the fishing was great. And a lot of his friends took up the offer and bought property there. And before you know it, they had an actors colony in Bluffton. And Buster loved the place so much that every time he mentioned Muskegon in these immaculately kept date books that he would write home. It was the place that Buster considered home because he loved, the fishing and the relaxing and the rehearsing of the act with all his other pals. So that's why we started coming to Muskegon, and well, we've been there ever since until 2019, and then I can't remember what happened, but something happened. The plague hit, and we haven't been able to be there for the last couple of years. But fingers crossed, Buster's back in Muskegon in 2022.
So how much time did he spend in Muskegon? I mean, was that where place that would he live there most of the time, or what's the story there?
If we're talking about pre-air conditioning, so it was impossible to expect audiences to sit in stifling theaters in the summer. So it was seasonal. So basically, the theaters closed at the end of spring and didn't reopen until fall. So these vaudevillians had 3 or 4 months to fill, and so Buster, they would head home, and so it was 3 or 4 months of the year that Buster would spend every year in Muskegon, and being a boy, getting up to tricks and having his first drink and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
What years are we talking?
About 1907. For 10 years. I mean, I think he was there until 1917 when he broke up the act and set out on his own. So, yeah, we're talking 10 years of his life. Really.
So this is before he got into silent film?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is when the Three Keatons were one of the biggest vaudeville acts on the go. So he was a very young man. We're talking somebody who probably first went there when he was barely 12. Until he was a young man of 21.
So what's What's the fascination with Buster Keaton? Why? I mean, everybody knows Charlie Chaplin. Was he sort of like the stepchild kind of thing, where he wasn't as well known or respected for whatever reason?
In the 20s, there were 3 great comedians who were the biggest box office comedians out there. There was Charlie Chaplin, there was Harold Lloyd, and there was Buster Keaton. And they all knew each other and they liked each other. But they were competing in the sense that, they were putting out their films and hoping that people would go and see them. I think Lloyd, sadly, is more forgotten now. But Buster, the fascination for me personally is that Buster's story fascinates me. because in the mid-20s, Buster was one of the biggest stars on the planet. 10 years later, he's an unemployable alcoholic who can barely get work anymore. And if his story had ended there, as sadly so many of them did, I'm not sure we'd be talking right now. But what fascinated me was, luckily for us all, he met finally the woman who saved his life, his third and final wife, Eleanor, who was an old head on young shoulders. And I got to meet her a few times, which was one of the unalloyed joys of being a damn finding. She used to come to some of the early conventions and gave him a reason to give up drinking, gave him a reason to get up in the morning and keep working. And 30 years later, he was back. He's one of the few people I can think of who lived long enough to witness his own renaissance.
So wait, was he in movies in the 60s then, or the 50s? Like talkies?
Died in 1966, February the 1st, 1966. And he never stopped working. You'll see him in Around the World in 80 Days, and It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, Limelight with Charlie Chaplin, and TV commercials. He just never stopped working. In fact, he never retired, and could have. He was turning down work. It was coming in because they gave him an honorary Oscar in 1960. They gave him total film career retrospectives in Venice and Berlin. He was right at the top of his game again, just by simply persevering and having the right woman by his side. She was the power behind the show.
So, how can people attend the convention?
Well, the best thing they can do is we have a excellent website, which is busterkeaton.org, O-R-G. And then there's a convention page, and they can sign up. And it's open for another 2 weeks because we have to. It's October the 6th, October the 7th, and the 8th. So we need to make sure that we have a definitive number in a couple of weeks' time, and they get a weekend of celebrating the great stoneface Buster Keaton.
What can they expect if they decide to sign up? What is the convention like? You guys go on tours, or?
The convention is we show films, we show rare films, stuff that even most of us have never seen. There'll be presentations. People give presentations about aspects of Buster's life and career. And then on the Saturday, there's a wonderful theater in downtown Muskegon called the Frauenthal Theater. And locals come and support us, and they watch the films with us. And there's a magnificent theater organ in there, which is played for us by Dennis Scott, who is out of Chicago, is one of the best film accompanists in the country. And he's one of ours. He's one of us. He's the damn finest. So he fills the auditorium with this wonderful music. And before that, the people who sign up, we have a Thanksgiving dinner upstairs at the Frauenthal. And then afterwards, backstage at the Frauenthal, we have our own speakeasy, where it's just a decompress and a chance to, in some cases, say goodbye to people who might be disappearing off home very early the next morning. So it's all about family. That's the thing. If you're coming for the first time, you will go away at the end of the weekend as part of the damn family, as we call it. It's very, and we have members of Buster's own family. We're going to have Buster's granddaughter's going to be there, Melissa. We have Buster's his nephew, Harry, is going to be there. So it really is a family affair.
Very cool. That is very cool. Anything else that you think you want to share about Buster Keaton or the event or anything like that?
Well, only that we managed to get to the 25th. 2019 was the 25th, so this is the first one back. So at least we managed to get to our silver our silver anniversary. So we're heading towards, who knows, we're heading towards our gold anniversary. That would be quite interesting. But it's great. I think we're, after 3 years of being not able to do a great deal, I think a lot of us are really looking forward to just seeing each other again and hugging each other again. So it's going to be a lot of fun and very emotional.
Sure. And what is your impression of? I mean, obviously you've been there many times now, but your impression of Muskegon and the surrounding area. Do you share Buster's opinion of it? I know it's changed a lot, obviously.
It has, and one of the other things that we traditionally we do, we have one of our members is a local, Ron Pesh, and one of the things he does every year, every convention, is he does a tour of the actors' colony at Loughton. So a lot of our members will go with him, and he's always adding in new stuff as he discovers it. So he's done a lot of research. He knows where everybody used to live and what used to happen there. So that's fun. I can well see what Buster saw in it. And for me personally, because I've been at every single one since '95. I've never missed one. And I've been fascinated just to see Muskegon changing in that time. In the time that we've been coming, they've essentially knocked down the center, and it was a bit barren for a few years. And now they've built it all back up again. It's a bit of a thriving little place downtown.
It certainly is.
So from that point of view, to watch it, to actually see it changing and progressing, it's fascinating.
I guess this is my last question, and perhaps I already asked it, but I want to make sure I address it. Why is it important for you all to remember Buster Keaton? Is it just because of the old silent films, or what is it about Buster?
I think it fascinates me that he keeps being discovered, even now, by often young people on social media. And somebody pointed out that when you isolate his gags, some of his individual gags, and put them up, they're the perfect aspect ratio for TikTok. They're little bite-sized pieces that people can watch and I think be impressed by, because I think a lot of young people who are very across things like video effects and CGI, they watch this stuff and they go, I know that can't be CGI. I just know it can't. So are you telling me that he really potentially got hurt? And you say, yes, he did get hurt quite often. And I think new generations are just impressed that this man did this for his art. He suffered for his art. And it's funny too. It's still funny. And I urge you, if you ever get the opportunity to sit in an audience, especially with children, the greatest sound in the world to me is hearing young children, I mean, I'm talking 3-year-olds, getting it, and often being the first to laugh at the gang, to laugh at this silly man doing these silly things. That to me is just fantastic, because you think, well, in 20 years, they'll be in this position being interviewed by you. That's the next generation. They get him. The fact that it's black and white doesn't matter. The fact that it's silent doesn't matter. It's funny. And funny always, it transcends.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and this is fascinating for me just to talk about it. I've been here for 25 years, and I guess we probably reported on it, but I don't remember it. Are there any videos or photos on your website that we can use just to visualize the story?
We do have a convention page, but I think it's probably only, well, it'll have the poster for this year, because we're calling it Buster's Back. So it's a photograph of Buster from behind. By all means, use that. The only other one I think that's currently up there is the one last year, which of course was virtual, which is probably not much use for you. But I would be astonished if you didn't look on YouTube, because occasionally people will stick a camera up and film things. So you might well find a photograph of Melissa, who's Buster's granddaughter, at a previous one, or something like that.
I'm
That might
assuming
be.
all the films, if I find that on YouTube, are all copyrighted, correct?
Well, that's an interesting bone of contention because Buster, the rule is currently 95 years. So in theory, everything up to 1927, which is pretty much near the end of the silent era, is in the public domain. However, what a lot of these companies do, and I'm not dissing them, it's a business decision. If you take an old film and you work on it, you make it look beautiful, and you add your own music track to it, you can re-copyright it. So if you were able to find a copy of a film that wasn't Kino, or it wasn't Cohen, or it wasn't one of these companies that this is what they do, in theory that should be perfectly legitimate, as long as it's not identifiable as being that print, that release.
Right. That's tricky sometimes.
Domain. So
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for your time. We'll probably do a little something in our entertainment block today at 5:30, and then I'm going to suggest to our digital crew that we put it on our YouTube page as well. This interview.
that would
So
be, so
yeah,
I can get a chance. That'd be
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. Okay.
Chris,
Well, thank
much,
you.
thank
Oh,
you
for
so
sure.
much.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you enjoy your time here. Let me know. Email me when you guys are in town, and then maybe
Oh
we'll
yeah,
follow up with you. Yeah.
absolutely. Will
Okay.
do.
All right.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
See
Thank
ya.
you. Bye bye.